Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Roblox World War II Community Podcast. I'm your co-host, Chillin5829, and this is your co-host, Yodbond.
Hey, yo, Blazers!
And today we're going to be interviewing GeneralJon12. Say hello.
Hello.
So before we get into this podcast, I'd like to say we, as a team, apologize again for being extremely late with uploads. We tried to do a original podcast for John earlier this week, and it ended up failing because I accidentally hit my computer too hard and it shut off.
Accidentally.
So, this is how it's going to be working for this podcast. We have a set board of questions for General John today, and then we will be taking questions from the audience. So, if you guys in the chat have any questions for General John here, by all means post them in the chat, and when we're done with our set questions, we'll answer yours in the chat below. Now, without further ado, let's get into the questions. John,
Yes.
when did you join Roblox, and how did you get involved in the Roblox World War II community?
So there's this group called the 101st Airborne Division. That was my first World War II group ever. In fact, it was one of my first groups at all. I joined Roblox in 2011. This group was fairly popular for the time as well, and this community has had 1,000 members. That actually used to be very big for the time. That was our superpower in the community for the time.
Yeah, 1K back in the day was like a god group.
It really was. And plus, the servers were so small, it didn't even matter. You could probably fit like 20 to 30 people in it.
I remember when 21st got to like 2,000, and that was like the pillar of the community. They
Yeah, I
only got
remember that too.
by the only group that took it over for like a good time until USM started to come about was Allied Airborne,
Yeah.
and that's because they had a game. That's the only reason they became super.
Precisely. No, every group does that now.
Was it D-Day?
Yes.
With
yes, it
Allied
was.
Airborne? Yeah, okay. I was about to say, like, I thought that was 101st Airborne for a second there.
No. Well,
Yeah.
they also had a D-Day. They had several D-Day games and all that because Iceball liked to roleplay and whatnot. Before all that, I actually joined several modern or fictional groups. Mostly, let me recall their names. There was the Reign of Chaos. That was a big one I was in. I joined that from a Tycoon game I found on the front page. Just some fun stuff. I joined for the VIP. There was John's Cobras. That was a fun one. I joined because I actually liked their game. It was a nice little town, and you had bases on each side. And you get to buy vehicles and shoot each other with guns you bought. That was really fun. Then there was Nerf Modder's Russian military. I wasn't in that for very long, but I guess I could say I was in it.
No, I was only in there for like an hour, but dude, I'm still considered a veteran of the group.
Yeah, pretty much.
But what influenced you to get involved in the World War II community on Roblox?
Basically, my general interest in World War II. Before I joined Roblox, there were a lot of games out there that had a World War II setting. That's what sparked the interest for a lot of people nowadays. There was also my grandfather. He was in World War II, but I'm not going to give out the details involving that.
All right.
I like Nerf best. Used to play Facebook games and then just switched over to Road.
God.
Yeah, I'm gonna play some Farm Simulator real quick. Anyways.
What was that fucking farming game?
Farmville.
Yeah, Farmville. Yeah.
I used to play it too.
Dude, I never touched Facebook during that time.
I was signed up. I was signed up to so many shitty games that every time I went on Facebook, it just popped up with like 1,000, like messages like, "Your animals are dying. Come back to your farm."
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, "Oh my God." I was just like, you know what? I don't even use Facebook. I'm just deleting this.
Just let your animals starve there, you inhumane piece of shit.
Good. I hope they fucking died of death.
All right, moving on to the next question. So,
Do you forget, Chillin? I'm a butcher.
shut the fuck up. All right. So, moving on with the 101st Airborne, Allied Airborne. Are there any other notable groups you joined in the beginning of the World War II community?
Well, before Nerfer, not necessarily. I do remember Shafe. I was never in the nets because I didn't like Nerfer at first. But I think one of the other questions has some things involving that.
Right. What are some names of people who heavily influenced you in your early days of the community?
It's hard to recall specific names, actually. Hmm. There aren't necessarily any names I could remember because they've not really been around for very long after that group.
So, not many people that you could. So, you know that there were people who influenced you, but you just can't recall them.
Yeah, I just
Ah,
can't
right.
recall their names.
Well, then, let's move on to the next question here. So, speaking of heavy influencers, let's move on to Nerfer Dude here. When did you first meet Nerfer Dude, and why have you stuck with him in this project for the past, say, 4 years?
Well, I haven't necessarily always liked Nerfer Dude. In fact, when I first met him, I hated him. Well, not right off the bat, but I hated the changes that I saw coming to this fun group I enjoyed. Basically killed the general idea we all had in the group itself. You know, the allied groups weren't necessarily as disciplined as they were or are nowadays. We were running around with packages, whatever hats we wanted, and even sometimes whatever uniforms we wanted. So Nipper changed all of that, and we're like, oh, well, this sucks.
Oh my god.
We actually have to act mature now.
I had a fucking blue uniform in the 82nd Air one.
Dude, I remember when troops first started joining RCCP, they had like the boa like thing around their neck. They had like sword packs on them, and they're like, "Dude, I'm ready to fight some Nazis, dude."
Do you wanna know why my uniform was blue?
Why?
You know the fucking United Nations peacekeeper.
You mean the League of Nations for that time?
Yeah, the League of Nations were around then, but I'm pretty sure that isn't what he's referring to.
I saw
that they were in World War II, and I just fucking, I don't know why, but like 11-year-old me was like, yeah, they just had peacekeepers back there, and they had blue fucking uniforms. I made a game,
Oh, yeah.
and it had like Shermans and shit in it, and they were all fucking blue.
What the fuck? Oh, jeez.
Dude, I remember when like Krieg at his map started painting his tanks yellow, with the Renault tanks and the his Panthers and shit. It was
Wait, who did?
yeah. Lewis had like yellow tanks at his maps in their early development. I remember looking at the Raider tanks and they were like dark green, and I looked at one of his Panthers and it was like bright yellow or some shit.
Was it for like an Africa map or some shit?
No, it was one of the. It was I think it was one of the castle maps that he had for HRI.
Huh.
You sure it wasn't like one of those Halloween events?
Maybe, I'm not sure. I remember that RSSR and a lot of the other major groups used to celebrate holidays and shit like that.
Bro, I remember when Lewis did it, it was the funniest shit. They had like a fucking Santa costume. And like all the soldiers had to wear like elves, whereas the officers wore like Santa's costume. It's fucking brilliant.
Dank memes, my man. Anyways.
RSSR did that as well. RSSR, as dumb as fucking it was, I quite liked the way they did it.
I remember his Christmas map.
Well, I
don't know
enjoyed the
why
group pretty
it
much.
was so fucking popular. It was just a shit map.
I know.
It was. I think it was.
But it
that
was
time.
fun. That's all that mattered.
It was fun. It doesn't matter that there's like a T-55 in the map. It's fun anyways. Sir, this is Stalin.
Oh, you're talking about the original.
No, but
I remember when Nerva went down there and started acting like he owned the.
Yeah, he does that a lot.
yeah, moving on to the next question regarding Nerfer. So, obviously you've been with Nerfer Dude on a lot of his projects over the past couple years. So
Yes.
why have you been so adamant on aiding Nerfer with mass reporting Axis groups? And what is your opinion on mass reporting?
Well, to start off, it was one of the only places I could really be. The other people already aided me, so, you know. Plus, he was the guy who treated me the best out of all the other leaders. You know, they kind of just like, oh, yeah, you're there. Hi. Never actually paid attention to his subordinates back then. In terms of reporting, it really depends. I mean, to be fair, nowadays it's a lot more strict, but back then it was a little more complicated. You have to actually point out really specific things that would get the group screwed.
Hmm.
But nowadays, you can just send in a report if something looks remotely the same as, like, representing something from that era, or even being generally National Socialistic in any sense.
Oh, dude, this looks like Vichy France.
Yeah, I remember that.
So,
Hey guys, work makes you free.
Yes, work gives you liberty.
so do you view reporting more or less as a tool than as an actual uh, concern for reporting groups?
I mean, regardless, it's going to happen because it could either be me or someone else. I don't do it as much anymore, obviously, but back then that's what we saw, anyways. Because a lot of the time, the groups weren't deleted because of us; they were deleted because of random people.
And Nerfer
That-
just takes the credit for it.
Well, for some of them, yeah, but we were probably a spearhead in killing off Lewis's groups.
Speaking of
because we
which,
didn't-
why did
That's
you
because we
guys consistently focus on Lewis Otto's groups?
Personally, I didn't know, but Nerfer just saw him as the top dog, basically, or at least so he said. He was the biggest threats out of any of the others, because the others couldn't necessarily bring in others as quickly as Lewis could. They weren't as influential either, or as ambitious.
So, do you believe that it is acceptable to deplatform Axis users and groups simply because they are remotely National Socialist or they have users that are Nazis in there?
Well, it really depends on the group. If it's just like a user, I wouldn't say you should fuck over an entire group because of it. But the specific users should be punished. But unfortunately, that's not the case because most of the Roblox staff hate groups in general because they're a pain to moderate.
True. But you could just have more moderators, Roblox, wink wink.
JK.
But of course, yeah, they're not going to do that.
No, they're not. They are not going to listen to you, unfortunately.
Hey dude, we got a podcast, could you listen to our advice? No.
Yeah.
Fuck off. Anyways.
What's a group?
What's a clan? You inserted this feature. No, what? I didn't do that.
I wish we could just delete it, man.
Pretty much.
No take backsies.
All the devs and the other communities hate groups too because they get scammed constantly in this sort of community.
Yeah, I like how the Roblox moderators told us not to sell groups, even though people do it anyways.
Yeah, they're going to do it.
I must have sold like 300 groups, and I've
Dude,
never
I've sold
been
like over 5 groups at this point now.
I'm pretty sure Nerfer's bought quite a few with annexation and all that.
Yeah, speaking of which, does he consider does Nerfer consider it a victory to just buy out the Axis leader and destroy the group?
Yeah. Yes, he does.
Okay, well,
I
Even
know
though it's
because
never
he's giving them the same amount of money to make another group, and we all knew this, and they did it anyways because they were idiots and got exiled from our group when we gave them a rank. So,
well, let's move on to our next question here regarding Nerfer Dude. Why in recent months have you decided to leave Nerfer Dude and his affiliates?
he didn't necessarily listen to his high command, as I thought he would when I gave him DUI. It didn't go as planned, let's say. I thought he would take it easier on the Axis because it's generally frowned upon nowadays anyways, and it's not really worth our time and resources to go after every freaking group. He obviously didn't listen, and he enemied about like 30 groups right after he got ownership. And we all saw this as a big concern because, for one, our intelligence apparatus was quite awful. We didn't attack, 30 groups at once. We wouldn't have to deal with security all the time, which was very stressful. The other thing being is that it's not necessarily great in terms of public relations. You see,
He's constantly going to war with everybody.
Yeah, everyone's an enemy. It's a generally bad policy.
It's not that going toward them's the problem. That going toward them.
I mean, they tolerate raids, yes, and that's completely fine with me. You know, I love raiding. It's just, well, they do too, but the whole point of declaring war on them in Nerfer's eyes is to destroy the group, not necessarily to raid them. They all knew this.
So, I just want to confirm this from you guys. Wasn't it when TWI got deleted, he called the High Command together, and all he did during that meeting was just rant about Lewis and the deletion rather than focus
No,
on
this was not during the deletion. He didn't even call us for the deletion. He actually just made a chat and was like, "Okay, guys, we're gonna return." Then said, "Join the Order of the Patriots." That got copied, or no, that got locked, not deleted. But,
We were in a call discussing it when he invited us.
There was another call before this. It was actually before we had our ultimatum with him. He was ranting about Lewis in regards to Harold Covington's death. And for those of you who don't know Harold Covington, he's the head of the Northwest Front, and obviously Lewis is involved in that quite heavily. He's currently in the U.S. anyways, and Niffer's like, "Oh, well, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. Oh shit, Lewis might come back because Harold died." Well, obviously he's not going to pay much attention to the game as much anymore because he's going to be busy trying to find a loophole in this vacuum of power that just sprung up in the Northwest.
So he was more concerned with Harold Covington's death than your ultimatum? Is that it?
Yeah, well, than the group itself, rather.
Oh, okay, okay.
None of us really... One guy in particular spoke out against this because he was like, who cares? He's like, if you don't care, then leave. And we were like, okay.
All right, now, let me explain. We kind of butchered this. Let me explain.
Yeah, we kind of did.
So we got attacked by Alexander, right? The group was locked at this point, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No.
No.
We had purged
For the Harold Covington thing, this had nothing to do with Alexander.
No. What I'm saying, it'll build up. Trust me. So the day before, we had purged Alexander. That morning, Alexander had AA'd the game and the group. Then Nerva had announced that there was an emergency meeting. So we assumed that it was about, the purge, people, spies, all of that shit, AA attack. So we go into this meeting, myself, John, and was it William?
Yes, it was William. He was the guy that spoke out.
And we go into the meeting, and Nerva brings up this shit about fucking, he dies, and that he assumes that fucking Lewis is going to start his mass recruiting campaign on Roblox for kids to join the Northwest Front. Just loads of shit that was out of nowhere, no proof to back it up. And then he makes Lewis is going to try and grab power or something in this new fucking organization. And then me, William, and John spoke about this, I think, prior to the announcement. And William had quite strong views on it, and we wanted to speak up anyway, with or without John, because at this point John wanted to do it as a group, but me and William didn't want to wait. William jumped straight in and basically just told Nerva straight up front to shut the fuck up and that this is a waste of time. Nerva got annoyed and told William basically to fuck off. There was a little bit of an argument. Then William left voluntarily. And then instead of trying to make the situation worse, I tried to say the same thing William basically said, but in a way Nerva would try to see sense with. He basically just ignored that, and then I just waited in the call to listen to what the rest of what he was going to say.
Nerva always told me to not argue with him in public because it gives him a bad image. It makes us look immature. So I pulled him aside right after the fucking call, and I'm like, hey, you need to tone this shit down because it's very SJW-like, and not many of our officers really tend to, like this sort of stuff. He didn't necessarily listen that much, but I think he said he would tone it down just a little. Then a few days later, we had our ultimatum, I believe, in regards to him not.
Which I missed, sadly.
And what was the ultimatum?
See, I have my file somewhere. Let me go find the list of what we had on it.
I was gutted because I work, so I got home and I was swamped and went to bed.
Yes,
Well,
that's fun.
While you're trying to gather that list or gather it for the podcast, do you want to move on to the next question, or do you want to take time to find it?
Yeah, I'll need some time to find it. Let's move on to the next question.
All right. Well, moving on to the next question then. Do you feel like you lost any opportunities from siding with Nerfer Dude and his affiliates in the community? And do you have any regrets for siding with Nerfer and potentially missing out on projects and, say, friends?
I could definitely say that I missed quite a lot of opportunities, even just for being in this community alone, because a lot of people I know have went off to other communities and became very successful game developers. They pushed themselves beyond this little community standards. In terms of friendship, yes, I have lost quite a few friends from just this. But then again, was well, it's more complex to deal with in that sense, and it's really hard to explain.
Understandable.
I mean, me and John only recently got back into contact. We had an argument, me, him, and Nerva insinuated the argument.
Well, speaking of Nerfer and friends, are you still friends with Nerfer despite the ultimatum?
Well, just more like affiliates at the moment. I don't know his stance on this, but we barely talk anymore, so that's just what I'm going to assume. I don't necessarily I don't hate want to be under him, because it's just getting ridiculous at this point. He doesn't want to listen to my commands, so.
Right. So, moving on to kind of a sub-question here. This question came from the audience a while ago when we first tried to do the podcast. Do you believe that influence in the group or in the community is more powerful than friends on this platform? Do you really feel like you can make more friends just to replace the ones you lost?
It depends on the friends. I mean, my father always told me friends come and go. So I kind of went off of that in this sense, and I took the influence for that. It also depends on the friends. I mean, people change over the years. So the influence still somewhat stays the same in regards to that.
Right. So, now that we have all the major questions regarding Nerfer Dude out of the way, let's get into some of the more standard questions here.
Well, in regards to the list, I actually couldn't find it, but from off the top of my head, for the ultimatum, I could think of that we wanted to pretty much be isolationist with TBY. We wanted to say, screw the enemies list, we don't want to do this, because, it's going to screw the group. We don't want to screw our own group, it's our own hard work. We all know what happens when, you screw with the Axis community as a whole nowadays. And, see, we also wanted him to stop annexing groups and giving the owners immediate high comp ranks. That was very bad because we almost got admin attacked several times, and people can't even promote anymore because of the limitations we had to put on those ranks. There was also a proposed voting system between only 4 people. It was myself, Carolus, Nerfer, and King Henry, who is now known as Senator Washington. Nerfer would get 2 votes, the rest would have 1 vote each. And he would only have to convince one of us that his policy was very much needed for the group, and he absolutely refused. It was us doing all the work too, and during that he even said that we should even do more of it.
Huh. So he kept asking for more of your assistance after the deletion of TWI, but didn't respond to the demands you made?
Yes.
Right.
No, he responded, he refused.
Yeah.
Well, respond in a positive light. is what I'm trying to say.
Didn't he agree to one demand?
Yes, it was. It was the enemy's proposal, like the foreign affairs proposal, rather. We wanted to limit the amount of groups we declared war on, and we could only limit it to 6. He wanted to declare war on that all National Socialism group. I think it was very stupid and SJW-like. He wanted to declare war on 5 other major Axis groups alongside that. And that one last group that I talked about actually sends a major message to the Axis. It's just basically pointing a finger at them all, saying, "You're all Nazis. That's not good for us.
You're all Nazis,
It's
lol.
also wrong." Yeah, pretty much. No one likes people like that.
Well, speaking of this whole predicament with National Socialism and moving on to the actual questions, so regarding your political motivation on Roblox, do you really have any political opinions on Roblox? Are you politically motivated?
No, not at all. I don't really give a shit about politics on a kid's game. It's boring in that sense. I mean, I'll just, sit here and have fun. That's really all I'm here for.
So really, you're only here to develop and play the game rather than talk semantics about ideology?
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's respectable.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And speaking of, say, controversial and quote-unquote political figures in the community, what are some of your opinions on other major leaders in the World War II community on Roblox? Say, RM1940s, IRF, USM, etc.
Well, I see some of these only a couple of these major groups as obstacles for any sort of development, or new development rather. They suck up all the resources, all the capable officers, because the groups are just so big. They're too big to fail in a typical way, let's say. In regards to specifically USM 1940s, obviously I hate them quite a bit. They're just full of random retards like the Medels and all that. Just the same dynasty from the Kibblers. There is also, well, in regards to Eric Medel specifically, he's just there, His group is quite clearly a personal endeavor for him, but then again, it's quite the same for most other groups, so I don't blame him too much for that. As a person, though, there's a reason why developers from the other communities hate ours. They don't get paid here for shit. Neither did I, really. I actually had to make my own money in USM to fund OSS agents at one point, which is why I set up the Quartermaster Corps. That was fun.
You're good.
In regards to IRF, I don't know. I have mixed opinions about him. A lot of officers hate me, but I'm fine with Basilia personally.
No, you get paid in the appreciation of the group.
Oh yeah, obviously that's the best. Even though nearly everyone fucking hated me, including the Medels, that was fucking fun. In regards to Basilia, though, I'm not necessarily sure what his opinions are of me because I've been hearing things back and forth quite recently. Let's see, RM, everyone fucking hates them. We all know that backbutton scams little children like $200 or $50 or whatever, just major amounts of money for that certain age, just because he does. I don't know why he does it. It's mostly personal ambitions, obviously, but we don't know the specific reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
People like him shouldn't necessarily be here because they give us all a bad image.
Yeah, Backbutton isn't necessarily a good person to represent any side in the community, to be honest.
Exactly. This is also the same thing for USF, because it's generally a shitty group, and it's just there. People who are barely relevant to what the rest of us want, or do, or say.
Well, moving on to another question regarding these groups. So, do you believe that the community on Roblox as a whole improved since your time initially joining the community?
It depends on what you see as improvement. If you mean by size,
Well,
then sure.
Map development, yeah.
Yeah, obviously, then it's improved quite a bit. I mean, maps were so poor back then. It's almost laughable nowadays.
Well, let's say the social aspect of the community.
Oh, that's gone way downhill.
Very.
Way downhill.
Could you consider it cancer?
Yeah, cancer. Beyond cancer. It's
Yeah,
atrocious.
Yeah, I can second that. As a whole, what do you view as some of the problems in this community, if at all, if there's any at all?
Several of the major groups and the leaders that give us a bad image to the other communities, which is why people, stay far and clear from it. It's just the same people here. There's no new influx of experienced individuals coming here. It's just, they only see IRF, USM, or RM, basically the top three.
I mean, that's kind of a fair, I wouldn't say a fair judgment, but like expected judgment, seeing how large
yes,
USM has gotten now. I don't even really consider IRF a part of the quote-unquote World War II community because they aren't really relating their group at all to World War II antics that much.
Well, neither is USM. RM's even more involved than they are, and they're the smaller group, but still, RM is cancer. Everyone hates it.
Yeah, I recently saw that they got AA just a couple of days ago from when this recording started, where they made like about 1,000 or 3,000 people general of the army.
Oh shit! I
One-
saw that one too. It was quite funny.
To be honest, some of the shit that's happened with RM being like admin attacked, I feel like it's karma because of what they've done.
It is.
10,000
I mean,
in the army.
Backbutton recently scammed some kid for $200, so
Yeah,
I
karma.
don't feel bad for him in any sense.
Karma.
Yeah.
Oh no, one of the people messaged me in the chat. It was 15,000 people that got promoted to general of the army.
Wait, what?
It was 15,000 people in RM that got promoted to general of the army.
Oh yes, that is perfect.
Dude, that must be a really fucking large group then, dude, if you gotta have 15,000 generals of the army, dude.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Can you imagine it? Like,
We always called this fixing their officer problems.
Yeah, this is just, rooting out the weak, just...
Yeah.
Gotta...
Just gotta promote a bunch of officers so they can recruit 5 people each, and there we go.
Yeah,
Got a big group.
You got a big group now. Big group.
Yeah.
now everybody's gonna come down because everybody.
Yeah, everybody can boss each other around now.
Yeah.
They're gonna argue about who got promoted first as seniority.
Dude, that shit always bothered me when I was recruit and some of the groups that I started out with, where it's like a lieutenant like commanding the troops there, and then like the general comes over, is like, "Okay, I'm taking command of your troops now." I'm like, "No, I was here first. These are my troops."
It's fun.
I don't know, that bullshit always bothered me.
Yeah.
Anyways, so moving on with not only just the World War II community, but what do you think Roblox can do to make Roblox better as a whole, in your eyes?
Well, in their eyes, they see it as the front page games are obviously taking priority. There's not really a way you can, there's no way you can actually get them to make it better in your own eyes because they won't listen to you. So I'm just simply here to have fun and then probably quit soon. I don't know. Just like everybody else nowadays. Groups are kind of going downhill, obviously, because, they instituted a bunch of these. Well, basically, what they did was they created a bunch of updates like the, what's it called? The game category update. That I don't know their specific reasoning for that, to remove that sort of thing. But that was how groups actually got their activity from just having people at their base. That was the only thing that we could do back then, before that update hit us.
I remember a long time ago when we had the category option that some of the RSSR maps and hell, even HRI maps and like SHAFE maps were actually on the front page of the category for military stuff.
Exactly, and that's how our groups got popular. But that's no longer the case now. We're only limited to like 50 to 100 or several hundred each for a very successful group, and that's pretty bad if you compare it to like a front page game. Let's say groups are just dead.
I wouldn't say completely dead.
Not completely, but nearing death.
I mean, one of the main arguments I would have to say for groups starting to go away is because we don't really have like a primary reason or motive to make our groups better.
Yeah, we're already earning money, so why make it better? Well, because it's fun to make it better. That's my reasoning.
Well, it's not just that, it's just like, what's challenging us from trying to improve ourselves is how I view it. Because, I mean, yeah, you have each other, but in this environment right now, you just have people who try and, I wouldn't say make us soft, but like try and promote unity. And it's like, well, if we're all friends, then I guess there's no real reason to view each other as a threat here, right? So why improve?
Exactly, because nearly everyone targets a single target all at once, and it's impossible to have any real competition.
Right. I mean, the way I view it is that, I mean, back in 2014, everybody was kind of up against Lur and HRI versus like RSSR and Shafe and whatnot, so that gave it kind of...
just that. Back in the day, like any division would just come down and raid you. It's just fucking dead now. No one raids anyone properly.
No, you have to have a scheduled raid to come here. Get the fuck out of here.
Oh god.
That's
Lair
why I
didn't
love
even do that. And
21st or inside of when the original Shafe, the 101 or 82nd, all of those groups, we would literally just host patrols, be there for like half an hour, and within that time, like a group would just see we're online and random raid us.
Yeah,
exactly.
Probably one of the better reasons of why the community back then was a lot better, because people allowed flash raiding. Because remember when flash raiding was just called raiding?
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, I'm fine with like a certain amount of people needing to be there for it to be like a fun raid. So obviously it's a bit dumb if there's like 4 people versus like one person versus like 30. But the whole fucking argument is that if there's not an even number now or something like that, it's not an official raid. Bullshit. You don't need even numbers to have a raid.
Don't you just love it when people are training on their raid map?
Yeah, I like how people are starting to incorporate their raid maps with their training maps now, even though that is extremely obnoxious for people trying to raid.
I'm doing it with one of my new games, however, I'm not going to cancel a raid simply because of that. Plus, I'm going to have a separate raid map that's completely fair. So, raids can go there if you want to do it there.
To be honest, I guess the way I kind of would want to do it is just have like, if you have a large enough amount of people and you have like a training map that's also a raiding map, just send like a regiment off, be like, okay, you're trained, go fight them now.
Yeah, that's basically what we're going to do.
But canceling a raid is just like, oh, we're busy right now, fuck off.
Yeah, that's what they did every time to us.
Come back in an hour.
Come back in an hour when we all leave.
We'd rather jump over a fucking brick than, fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, people in this community also have prided themselves when it comes to leaders about how amazing their groups are, like how amazing their troops are, but actually don't send in their army to fight someone. They always get like a special task force or something to also send them in, rather than just get the recruits to get some actual training themselves.
Yeah, well, what I do personally is I would simply have the recruits up against each other and the experienced divisions, let's say, just so they can actually know what it's like to fight other specific combatants that these groups would be fighting. That's how I would organize it. I wouldn't necessarily want to take random Baconaires into a raid, because that's really what most recruits are nowadays, unfortunately, because they're going to make you lose. That's a guarantee. They're undisciplined. They're clueless. But these divisions would offer special training to make them not that way, let's say.
Well, in a way, you could just have those special divisions. Yeah, you have the special, like, elite troops that if it's an extremely important raid, like, yeah, of course, go send them out there, but to
I mean,
always
not
have
even
them.
just elites. I mean, you can have basic infantry, and they would know all the basics of raiding, as compared to recruits who would simply all they care about is they're the ones who joined the group just to be on the team with the gun. So we're going to keep them at the base to keep the base active. That's our concept of this.
Huh.
Well, again, the way that I'm trying to view it as is that, like, you have all these recruits wanting to fight or raid a map, but obviously they're going to get stomped if you send them there. So why don't you have some of your own experienced troops train them to show them what it's like, and like actually
Yes,
coach
that's exactly
them?
what we do. We offer them to join a division.
Well, not to just join a division, but have the special divisions train them in general.
Yeah. Well, it's a little harder to train the recruits if they're not interested in it. You see, we give them options. If they don't want the option of being able to raid a foreign place or whatever, they can't necessarily do it unless we need reinforcements, which they're basically the reserves. But they can join these units and get trained by those those experienced soldiers, just whenever they choose to.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too difficult. I mean, I'd say it's pretty fair. They even get their own special uniforms.
I have a uniform, so I feel special.
No,
pretty much.
I got a special camouflage.
No, dude.
I'm not giving them camouflage. Screw that.
Dude, I got a blue uniform. I'm a UN peacekeeper. Get the fuck out of my way, dude.
Oh god, I hate fucking blue uniforms.
I got a blue Sherman, dude. Stay out of my way.
Yeah, there you go.
Stop taking the piss out of me!
Alright, well...
At least it's not you, this.
Mr. Soviet Hill.
It's not a Soviet Hill knockoff, it's completely original.
Oh, okay.
No, I find that weird because he made that map and then immediately, like, I never visited any of RSSR's maps, and I just subconsciously make my own map that's similar to Soviet Hills.
Really?
Yeah, all it was just like a smaller version of Soviet Hills.
Oh, okay.
Trotsky Road?
Yo, Trotsky Hotsky's Road, my nigga.
To be fair, that actually does sound pretty damn small.
Yeah, it is. It was pretty small.
It was literally a fucking road with a
That,
tank.
that was the
Now,
purpose
thing,
of it.
If you blow chilling up with a tank, he's not a very happy monkey.
That's because we were trying to survey the map, you jackass. And they're like, oh, hold on, let me just piss you off while we're trying to survey the map and, you know, upgrade it.
That's not how it
Oh,
works.
yes.
How I recall was, yo, don't kill me, and I'd already killed you, and you got triggered and banned me.
Yeah, because I already told you, don't fuck with us while we're trying to survey the map.
Well, I had a tank, I had an SMG, I don't know what you expected.
You expect me not to give in to my temptations. What the fuck, man?
I am the king troll. If I have a gun, you're dead.
Yeah, and I'm the King Banner. I'm the King Banner, dude. I got the banhammer, dude.
No one gets called the king banner, that's a fag title.
No, a fag title's the founder.
God,
Give it back.
I was actually against that. I tried to get him to change it to something more serious because now he sounded like Abiena when he had the founder role.
Wait, Abieno was also a founder role?
Yeah.
Oh
Yes,
my
he
god.
also had a founder role.
I am the founder of the podcast.
I am the founder of the podcast.
No, you're
Everyone didn't necessarily think it was like, oh, he's the founder of the LA community. No, they saw him as, oh, I'm the founder of the group. Like, okay.
I would like to settle this here and now. I came up with a dumb idea. I go.
Yeah, and
kill him,
who
I
records
him.
who records this? Who's recording this right now?
I came up with a dumb idea. I pitched
Who
it to
manages the
Chillin.
channel?
Chillin
Who
was
sets
like,
up the
"That's such
podcast?
a shit idea," and I convinced him to do it.
I don't
Just
care.
as a
I
joke.
made it come to life. Fuck you.
No, you didn't. I advertised it. Suck my dick.
No, you advertised it and then I actually ran it. Fuck you.
All you do is upload it.
But yo, all you do is upload videos, dude. Even though I have to fucking.
All right. Anyway, we're gonna get back to it, or is this gonna be fucking civil war?
No, we're gonna cut all this out. That's how this works, right? Like anything that we don't like, we just cut out. Anyways,
Nah,
moving
we've
on.
got to include. This is quality gold.
Oh, this is quality content, man. Anyways, moving on to the next Shut up. Moving on to the next question. So, last but not least, regarding the set standard of questions, John, what is your next upcoming project for the World War II community?
Well, it's basically this one American group that we're all working on. We decided on America because, during the coup, we actually got one of the guys involved, and he made this ridiculously retarded meme regarding being evil America in the 60s, but with President Nixon fighting rebel people with JFK's group. we would send little spies into his game and fucking assassinate him on alts and send him dead JFK memes right afterwards. So that's one thing that kind of sparked the interest. Yod was here for it, by the way. The other reason was because there's so much content available. Like you can easily find like an M1 helmet mesh or references for uniforms anywhere you want. This includes departments or whatever. It's not going to be like a USM, by the way. It's going to be a nation. There's not really a proper UN nation here. It's just some stupid military group with barely anything that relates to World War II because they have a bunch of retards from like milsim communities running it.
So basically, you're making an evil America.
Well, no, that was just a meme. We're making an actual America.
Ah, damn it.
They wanted to do like a Normandy state, like when English owned Normandy, and they wouldn't shut up about fucking Nixon memes for like 3 hours straight. I was the only one suggesting true fucking ideas, and I eventually convinced them on an American empire. And the next morning we come into a call and they're like, "So what do we agree upon?"
Yeah, it was a pain in the fucking ass. It was just a clusterfuck. I mean,
then we brought it down to like a republic based off of Rome. So it's like, I don't know, if you know your shit about like the American founding fathers, they have a huge erection for like Rome.
Yeah, we the other guys want some heavy influence from Rome because the founding fathers also took a bit of influence from Rome. So their excuse is just that the founding fathers took a lot more influence from Rome this time. Also, we own Canada and Mexico because...
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I said that we could just take them for the sake of it.
Yes.
Fuck it, why not?
And then John's like, bro, we should go down to Panama. So that's where the map sent. The map sent the Panama Canal.
Yeah, we have the Panama Canal now.
It's our border crossing with the
rest exactly. And then we have the drug lords of Colombia on the other side. The fucking, I don't know. We'll just call them Viet Congs, or Southern American Viet Cong people or whatever. I don't know.
You know how like there's that shit between like Mexico and America? That's basically us and Panama in this reality.
Oh yes.
All the drugs come from Panama. That's the shithole of the country.
No, they come from Colombia. Panama is ours.
No, dude. They come from Ecuador, dude.
Oh, okay.
They come from Argentina, yeah, the Falkland Islands.
Yeah.
We extend all the way downwards to Canada. We extended so far into Antarctica that we actually came back and are now.
Oh yeah, we also own Chile. We have a general, General Pinochet. He's a great.
Oh yes.
He brought helicopters into our arsenal.
So basically, this project is like we're going to include some memeing, let's say.
Well, you gotta have dank memeing, dude, to make a group alive.
Well, yeah, obviously, but Nerfers groups weren't necessarily too fun because they included barely any memes, or just stupid memes against Lewis, and that's no fun if you have the same stale memes for years and years and years. Just imagine that shit. You have to make a new meme like every 5 minutes because you're bored of the last one because it's the same shit. The same fucking edgelord from the New Awakening or whatever that you've been talking about for years. That's no fun.
Dude, Archon just said in the chat, Antarctica's mine.
No. Wrong.
Have you not heard of American Antarctica?
Yeah.
Well, it's clear now that we have all of our main questions finished. So I suppose we could start moving on to audience questions for anything that we may have missed during the podcast. So if you guys have any questions down below in the general chat, by all means, start asking them, and we'll start bringing them up.
No, there will not be a freaking North Korea in this lore.
Yeah, Kim quote unquote Kim fucking Il Sung. There will not be a North Korea in this lord. Dundo asks, how much does John think that the group will be alive? Your new American group.
I have no clue at this point because it hasn't even launched. I mean, I have to launch first to actually get a good idea on how good it's going to go.
Depends if I'm going to put money in.
X Forge asks, will you endorse Rika Selva 1776 in the lore?
Wait, Rika Selva. Oh, that's right. You're reviving Rika Selva or trying to.
Oh, that's fine. No. We'll support it, but you're gonna be basically be the Philippines in this.
Oh yes. There we go. Yeah, we're going to give Rika Selva the
You're a
Philippines.
self-governing dominion, but you're basically a dominion.
Yeah, when's Rika Selva going to be invaded by the Japanese?
You can be Governor Forge.
Don't you enjoy how much Rika Selva's been expanding lately? Dude, they have a manga store now, dude.
We now own Rika Salva. You can be a puppet dominion.
If you guys actually have any more questions, by all means ask them, but not seeing any in the chat. There's no real questions. Okay. So, with all things concluded from this, by all means, we hope that everybody listening to this has enjoyed. This has been your co-host Chillin' and your co-host Yodbond.
I wish I had tits.
Yeah, of course. We all do.
Yeah.
And thanks for coming on, John. By all means, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it has been for me as well. It's quite interesting.
Right. Well, before we sign off, though, I'd like to announce that for anybody who still watches the podcast, we now have a Discord channel to, post all of our shit memes, all of our podcasts and whatnot. As we're, closing off right now, we're in an open podcast channel where you can come in and join and ask questions for our interviewee. So by all means, Discord link is going to be in the description down below, and if you think you can be on this podcast, by all means, shoot us a message. Now,
we've also got a shit ton of people lined up.
Yeah, we have quite a lot of people lined up. But with all things considered, thanks for listening.